back there to see him also. Concert one. He actually, he then remember the concert until so late, right?
Okay guys, so it's day 45 of the MCO. Today is Labor Day, and yep, so to everybody out there, happy Labor Day, particularly to all the frontliners, the healthcare workers, the armed forces, the police, all our Grab food heroes, Food Panda heroes, all the logistics people, everybody basically who's in the essential services sector, keeping society moving. Happy Labour Day to all of you guys. Yeah. So, as we heard from the Prime Minister's announcement this morning, that beginning Monday, they will be easing off the MCO. I use the term easing off and not lifting because they will be allowing they're allowing the economy to restart, but with restrictions. But I think in practice it's as good as lifting the MCO lah, if you ask me. Okay, of course there are still some restrictions against people gathering, against businesses like cinemas, what you call it, all those businesses that massage centers, karaoke, all those that in entertainment, entertainment businesses where you have a huge gathering of people, you're still not allowed to play football on the field. Yeah, all right, and but somehow dining in at restaurants are going to be allowed, which to me doesn't make sense. Yes, you can have the SOPs in place, but the question is, we know how disciplined Malaysians are. How sure are you that we can trust our fellow Malaysians to be sufficiently disciplined in maintaining the social distancing? I mean, even countries as disciplined as Japan, all right, are seeing a resurgence in cases, let alone Malaysia, where people don't even know how to obey traffic lights. So I personally think that it is premature to ease our restrictions off. Okay, I know we are seeing a downtrend in the number of new cases, and I think it's if we had maintained the MCO as it is all the way to 12th of May, I think it would have been safer. And I think at that time that's the time where we can look into lifting the MCO by by location. So I think it's a lot easier to communicate. So let's say, like, okay, so by 12th of May you declare this area as green zones. So straight away all these areas, MCO is lifted, you are free to move about within the vicinity. But of course you still maintain your interstate ban on interstate travel, all right. So then yeah, so after that you just maintain your MCO on all the red zones and all the orange zones. I think that would have been a better arrangement. In a way, it still allows the economy to restart, because in those green zones people can start working already again, and some people will be out there earning money, and things are moving. Okay, but well, no, that's not the case. But still, there is at least one thing that I am glad that they are maintaining, is that they're still maintaining border controls, which I think is absolutely essential, because looking at the sheer number of imported cases that are still coming back in. So thank God that we are containing all these new arrivals in quarantine centers where where they are screened and they can be treated. Okay, I think maintaining the ban on interstate travel is still the right thing to do, particularly with Raya coming. So for our Muslim brothers and sisters, deeply sorry that you guys won't be able to go back to your hometowns and celebrate Raya with your family. It is also deeply unfortunate that you all won't be able to have your Bazaar Ramadans and your Tarawih at the mosques. Okay, and yeah, so it's trying times. But the thing is that we have went this far, we have achieved so much progress. I'm not sure if now is the right time to take the risk and reopen so much of the economy so quickly. I mean, I do get the health director general's assurances that the healthcare system is now operating at about 30% capacity treating COVID-19. But you see, the thing is that the one thing that bugs my mind is, yes, we have the equipment and the infrastructure capacity to handle these cases, but what about the fatigue that is being faced by the healthcare personnel? I mean, that I think needs to be taken into account. And and the thing is that if we allow, yes, the curve we have flattened the curve, but if we allow that curve to continue dragging on, it's going to continue to take its toll on our healthcare workers. Fortunately, right now, the procedures put in place by our government hospitals have protected our medical frontliners from being infected. But I am sure, every day, all these guys in their heavy PPEs, sweating in there, in extreme discomfort, that to me, I think, is seriously tiring for them. And I really cannot bear to see our healthcare workers having to go through this kind of torture for any period longer than necessary. Okay, but anyways, to our healthcare personnel, thank you guys, thank you for all your good work through this trying times. Now the next topic, of course, is continuing from my video yesterday on the bank moratorium. All right, whether was it a U-turn or whatever not. So as I said yesterday, what the moratorium does is that it gives us a 6-month breathing room that we can choose not to pay our loans and don't have to worry about our house and car being repossessed. We don't have to worry about black marks in our credit history. But it's just that the population has been misinformed or misled into thinking that these 6 months, that loan holiday or loan breather does not come with interest, but now it turns out that it does. So I'm still waiting for communication from our banks. Okay, but basically, right, based on the info, right, Bobby did some math yesterday, and I also looked through my documents. Okay, now basically what's going to happen? So this 6 months that you defer, okay, there is going to be an interest charge on it, but it's not the interest that you signed on earlier. So let's say, like, when you bought the car, right, you say, okay, this money is lent to you, 100k, 9 years, 3% interest. This 6 months that you defer is not going to be charged 3% interest, but instead what you will be charged is this figure. It's called, let me just look back at my document. It's called the APR, annual percentage rate, and it is printed in this letter here. Okay, annual percentage rate of term charges. So like my S-Max, for example, okay, my loan for that car, the interest rate agreed upon is 2.95, but the APR is 5.49%. So if I take up the moratorium of that S-Max, this 6 months break of installments that I take will be charged 5.49 interest per year, and it works out in my case to be about, I think, 1,800 something ringgit. Okay, not a small amount at all. Maybe you know, you can split that amount over the remaining period of the tenure. That way the extra hit would be so much more bearable, because that's going to add about 20 ringgit a month to my car installment. That is a hit that I can stomach. But if you ask me to suddenly, by the time the end of my loan finish, suddenly I have to top up an extra 1,800 ringgit, so wow, that's a bit crazy lah. It's about two or 3 months of your monthly installment. Okay, but the one point that I still want to re-highlight is this. You see, this whole so now the explanation given to us is that the official explanation given to us is that there has been some miscommunication. Okay, interest charges was supposed to apply. There was never a case that interest did not apply. But the thing is this: our authorities have been very, very diligent, very, very efficient in catching fake news over this period. Why was this misconception never corrected earlier? Alright, that is my only gripe. Because you ask me, right, my bank loans, okay, you give me, right now everybody's tight in cash. You offer the opportunity to take a 6-month breather, okay, from having to repay your debts. You don't have to and you don't have to worry about repossession. You don't have to worry about a black mark on your CCRIS, and the banks want to earn a bit of extra earnings for offering you the opportunity. I think it's fair game, but this should have been communicated to the people right from the start and made abundantly clear. Yeah, so yeah, I remember when the moratorium was announced, and when it was circulated that we will be getting a holiday from paying interest this 6 months, I was thinking, wow, this is really too good to be true, because it's a massive hit on the bank's earnings. Okay, so let's look at some comments specifically on my moratorium commentary video yesterday. For late pay, Steve Kerr says, better continue paying. Okay, and let's see. So Tiban Naidu, why not they just take the interest needed to pay and give back the money that need to pay the car value? Example, if 1,000 installment, first 3 years, most of the payment will go to the bank interest, and bank can just deduct it and give the left amount for the people. This can avoid the people to not suffer interest charges at the next 6 months. Banks are always operating for a profit. They will. It's a for profit rather than for people concerned. I don't, as I said, I don't begrudge them of earning a profit, but it's just that I think this point should have been made abundantly clear right from the start. And in this special circumstance, I think the banks could really have a bit of mercy and still charge interest, but charge a lower rate. All right, just to help people, to get through this period. Because at the end of the day, don't forget, if too many people default on their loans, it's still bad news for the bank. I mean, yeah, you can repossess people's house, you can repossess people's car, but you would still need to turn those cars and houses around that you repossess before you can realize any cash. So ZXC commented, they shouldn't have auto opt-in people originally. Now everyone except those who reject the moratorium initially have to go through the trouble to ensure that their April payment is made and to opt out from this mess. Now, from what I understand, right now, if you want to continue to work with the moratorium, you have to opt in. Okay, so right now your default is been set to opt out, but what you may want to do is, those of you guys who are relying on auto debit, on standing instructions, you may want to have that properly checked to ensure that for your next car payment or house payment, the banks will still process it and process and get your payments through to fulfill your obligations. Nazrul Safri Paijo says, I'm taking the moratorium. I'm in the need of some cash and I'm willing to bear the extra interest. Well, good on you, sir. Most important, you know what you're into, letting yourself into. You know the consequences of action and you are making an informed decision. Azian Madun, by definition, moratorium means temporary stop everything, stop the clock, no interest. Once moratorium is off, then recalculate payment based on last principal outstanding, while the tenure is based on the existing one or new tenure, subject to the choice of borrowers. Interest remain the same. That's the meaning of moratorium. So if you say interest is still being charged during MCO, that's not the meaning of moratorium. That's total lies. Don't call it moratorium. Let's Google what does moratorium, the definition of moratorium, right? Complete cessation of debt payments or partial cessation. It actually never says whether interest is stopped or not. Yes. Okay. Henry Seal, continue to pay so that the amount of depreciation tally with the balance of my loan, and with that later on can start to hunt for another car or maybe a house. Else defer already, my depreciation will drop more than the amount I owe in the bank. That's a very, very valid point. Nobody has raised this before. Maybe people are too preoccupied with other concerns to worry about depreciation now. But yes, you suspend your, even though you can take your moratorium, even based on what was the previously understood scenario, you take that moratorium, you suspend your loan for the next 6 months. But in that 6 months, your car is continuing to depreciate and lose its value. So by suspending your loan payment, even if you don't have the interest to bear, you are allowing you are holding, this is the amount that you hutang the bank. Your car's resale value is continuing to drop. Okay, if it may drop to hit almost your car's value, or in the case where right now you are owing the bank more than what the car is worth, that gap between your car's resale value, that gap between your bank balance versus your resale value is continuing to increase. Loa Suen, I'm currently studying a banking diploma. I wish you could be my consumer banking lecturer. No, you don't want to be you don't want me to be your lecturer, I can tell you that much. SK Leo, when you pay your monthly installments, you are already paying interest on your loan. So for 6 months moratorium, the banks are still charging interest on top of it when you opt out. Do you think it's fair to customers? This is all a super telenovela for government to show prihatin to the right. Yeah, end of the day, you either continue to pay your monthly installments or you pay extra on the 6 months deferred payment. Yeah, correct. Yuzuru, to be honest, the one to blame is of course the government. Popular decision means no need to pay. Then months later, interest entered the chat. Fakrullah Saifuddin, so if I take moratorium, I pay all outstanding during October, will I still be imposed that interest? Based on my understanding, no. So what you can do is, these 6 months, if you choose to take out the moratorium, what you can do is, that money that you're supposed to pay the bank, you can just set it aside. Okay, set aside. At the end of 6 months, this money, you just take and you pay the bank. Then you are not charged extra interest. NYC says, let's face the facts. Running a bank is a business and it needs to make profits. Yeah. So for those that really need the money, just take up the offer. You may get opportunities down the road to make up the extra payment. Correct. So if you need it, take it. If you can afford to continue paying, continue paying. Ijin Tan, these latest changes in the moratorium is affecting only the car hire purchase loans, not the home mortgage loans. And Nicholas Choi answered me, it applies to all. So if you can afford to service your loan, then do it. Agreed. And Clarence George, for me, I will continue with the moratorium, but it's all depending on one's financial situation. If mampu bayar loans as usual, why not? Yup. But for orang kampung like me, this wouldn't look so good on our PM's image, like, because of COVID. Many sectors will end up in losses, but like always, the banks will not have mercy, but rather let all losses be shouldered by someone else's people. And this is something that the banks need to think about. If the number of foreclosures is too high, it's not good news for the bank also. GC Pan, our finance minister or ABM should come out to clear the air once and for all. No deferment for me though. Cairo Anwar, the problem is retrenchment and unemployment during or after the moratorium. The risk may not be considered earlier. You are saying the banks are shooting their own feet. David KKWX, no such thing as a free lunch from the bank. Nope. CK12588, previously I opted for deferment for additional cash in hand for potential investments. However, with such high interest, I don't see any reason not to pay now. We'll be paying as usual. I guess if your income is affected by COVID-19, you don't have a choice but to take it up. Well, I suppose if you are that good with your investments, maybe you see that by the end of 7 years, 9 years, you save up on this money, you use this money to invest somewhere else. By at the end of your loan tenure, you may make up more than the interest, the additional interest of that you incur on this moratorium. Then I would say, yeah, why not? Faisal Saleh, it drives the government not to extend MCO in regards to current pandemic situation. Well, they are already easing it. Chaya 345, somehow I knew surely something in regards to interest will occur. I've called the bank the next day it was announced to get double confirmation of no late payment whatsoever, and they said yes, nothing. I will not be charged any late payment for this matter. Anyway, I choose to continue servicing my HP installment anyways. You see, it's not a late payment charge. It's just interest. You are not being charged for late payment. But technicality lah. Wing Leong Chan says, I like the idea of paying interest only. It's about 30% of the installment if you just service your loan. If paid half the tenure, will likely be 16 to 18%. Taking your example, 130k, paid 1.5 years, 2.43%. The person need to just pay slightly over 400 monthly now in order to maintain installment amount and bank balance tenure. Exactly my point. All right. So in a way that it is, I believe that is an arrangement that helps ease the cash flow somewhat of the borrower, and at the same time still allow the banks to earn some money. Eric Okala, no deferment for me, I'm going to pay. Hong here says, I may be wrong, but here's my take. Previously, it was agreed by banks that installments can be delayed without any surcharge. In this case, there's no problem taking up the offer. So now banks have two options for you. October, you pay the installment that you deferred. If you do so, no extra interest. Or postpone the installment after original maturity date. In this case, additional interest charges because your loan has been extended to extra 6 months. There's no best options here, just depends whatever suits your needs. Yep, that's right. So yeah, that's some of the comments that we have on the moratorium. So yeah, today the last couple of days have indeed been very, very interesting. Okay, and it's still a long way ahead before we can really look at full recovery. But let's just hope that the easing of the MCO next week will not contribute to another spike in cases, because what that would mean is that it would result in the reinstatement of another MCO and drag things even further down the road than what we would have liked. Okay, so guys, yes, come Monday, MCO will be eased. We can go out for our jogging, maybe play some badminton, go makan in the restaurants, but stay safe. Okay, stay safe. Still try not to go out unnecessarily. Remember that interstate travel is still not allowed, so stay within your state borders, and try not to, don't try, guys, don't try, do not get yourselves involved in any gatherings, still maintain good social distancing practices, still maintain good hygiene practices. But one thing I am looking forward to perhaps is that now I can take my cars out to drive. That would really be something to look forward to next week. But otherwise, that aside, I think next week for me, I would still be preferring to stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Okay, so guys, let's do this. Don't mess this up. We have brought our COVID-19 numbers down under control. We have to keep the fight going. Okay, cheers.